Hey everybody, welcome to Meddkit's Provider Spotlight, where every week we are interviewing the most amazing private practices from all over the United States. Every week we get to come here, learn something brand new, but most importantly, we get all different kinds of perspectives. Every specialist has a new and bright and shining idea, a thought. And we're so lucky to be able to have this platform to share with them and hear what they have to say. So I want to introduce you to a really awesome special guest, Dr. Bob Baravarian, owner of Doc's Foot and Ankle in Los Angeles. Dr. Bob, welcome to Provider Spotlight.
Very, very nice of you. Thank you for having me. And what you guys do is amazing. So thank you for doing it.
Yeah, of course. We're so excited to be able to spend a little time with you this afternoon, but would love to hear a little bit about your background to get us started. I'd love to hear a little bit about your story and what ultimately inspired you to open up your own practice.
Sure. Going back, I played national junior tennis, and then I actually was a tennis player at USC. And I always kind of wanted to do medicine. I was always good with my hands. I did a lot of woodwork when I was younger. Foot and ankle surgery was kind of part of orthopedics and something that I liked. My assistant coach at USC tore his Achilles and he had it repaired by a sports medicine guy,
Mm.
and it didn't heal right. So he had it repeated revision surgery with a foot and ankle guy. And I met him. I really liked it. And that's how I got into foot and ankle. Did my residency at University of Pittsburgh, did a fellowship in Dresden, Germany, and then another fellowship in like a special technique with these halos that some people put around their head. You can put them around the leg called Ilizarov. And then I joined UCLA. I was there for 4 years and I loved it. I did all the complex revision cases and reconstructive stuff that I really enjoyed. Um, at 4 years, I was about 3 months behind on booking surgeries, and a lot of these surgeries were urgent. So I would have to operate at 2 in the morning, 3 in the morning. And so I went to the chief and said, I need more OR time. And I remember it really clearly. He said, we don't have any more OR time to offer. I said, well, can I go operate outside of UCLA? And he said, well, no. And I was, remember clearly, I went home, I talked to my wife, and I said, this is what's going on. And she said, you have to leave, got to open your own shop. And myself and one of the other guys at UCLA left in 2003. Wow, long time ago. And we moved to Santa Monica, and we were blessed that UCLA said they wanted to continue to refer us patients for the stuff that I did.
Mm.
And so we opened up University Foot and Ankle Institute and started that in 2003, and it was busy from day one.
Mm.
We grew to 20 locations. Um, and then in 2021, we partnered with private equity, mainly because um, it was getting too big and we needed more management and more help, and it was getting above where we were really capable of handling it.
Mhm.
And our care on our kind of like motto was always exceptional care,
Mm.
really very, very high quality, very high touch with the patients, and also doing stuff that most places didn't do. And when 2021, when the private equity group took over, their model is more good is good
Mhm.
enough. And what we want to do is expand aggressively. So I was chief medical officer helping with the expansion. I'm proud to say that we now have over 400 locations nationwide.
That's-
The problem with it is that if you're exceptional, a lot of times you end up becoming good. And
Mhm.
if you're okay, you also become good. So a lot of the practices have been brought up to good level.
Mhm.
But for me, I felt like our practice went down to good level from a super exceptional level, and it's just not where I want to be.
Mhm.
So September of last year, I decided to open Doc's Foot and Ankle. I'm in a very elite orthopedic practice here in Los Angeles and Beverly Hills. And I do what I want to do now. I see less patients, offer very high touch, very high quality care. And I'm blessed.
That's amazing. I love hearing your story, and it's amazing to see how much that you've built over this time and since you've been in practice. And I always think about, the origin story and hearing about your buddy that had got injured and to go through that process of not only having one invasive surgery, but two, because the first one didn't end up so great. I'm sure that sticks with you over time. That you want to be once and done if you can be, right? And you want
Absolutely.
to you want to get it done correctly. And I think that's the difference in excellence. And so I really appreciate where your journey has been and what it's brought you to, and being such an elite practice that you have
Thank you.
started. So in terms of, I know there's so much that you do and there's so much that you offer folks, but I'd love to hear a little bit about maybe what are the most common areas and procedures that you treat and perform. Feel free to also share though, maybe I always say there's more that meets the eye. So there might be some uncommon cases or things that people may not realize that you do treat. So I'd love to
Yeah.
hear any and all.
Yeah, so I'll tell you one thing that's interesting. You said like, one and done. The one thing I've realized in medicine is that as a patient,
Mm-hmm.
most people are like, well, if this person went to medical school and they're wearing a white coat and their name is on it, they're a doctor, they must be good.
Hmm.
We don't do that with our jewelry, with our wine, with our cars, with the quality of our homes. But for some reason, we think anyone with a white jacket on is going to be equal. And so I think that for most people, uh, you know, your health is a big deal. And I saw a post yesterday that said, you really don't realize how lucky you are until you're unhealthy. And then you're like,
Percent.
you know, yeah. So I think one piece of advice to everybody is, make sure that you kind of check out who you're getting treated with, especially when it comes to like more invasive stuff like surgery. Like, you know, in order to be a good surgeon, it's not about like reading books. It's about the dexterity of your hand, your 3D vision. Um, and I think that's really a big deal. So it's really important because you really do want to be one and done.
Yes,
Um,
I couldn't agree more with that. And I think
yeah,
that's so true. I think oftentimes, we see people in white coats and we say, well, they might know the best, so they do know the best, and
yeah.
stop there and don't get a second opinion, or things of that nature. And
Yeah,
you kind of knock yourself maybe a little bit after you've maybe experienced some hardship. I'm
I think
sure a
it's
lot.
even,
Yeah, go
yeah,
ahead.
even more than the second opinion. It's the first opinion. Who is this person? What's their reputation? What do they do? Do they have like a good history, a bad history? What's happened to them? Do I feel safe and comfortable with them? Do they feel like they have like think of it this way. Let's say I want to go and buy a Porsche,
Mm-hmm.
right? When you look at a Porsche or you look at a Ferrari or you
Yep.
look at the car has a certain aura about it, right?
Yep.
And that aura is from years of perfection.
Yep.
You get that same sort of aura from a bottle of wine or from a piece of jewelry. You should get that same aura from your physician.
Yep.
There's a certain sense of confidence, a certain feeling of, I've done this before. This is not new to me. This isn't something that it's my first rodeo. I got you. I'm going to take care of you, right? That's the same as I can drive 200 miles in a car and the car's got me,
Yep.
right?
Absolutely.
It's a feeling you get. Part of when I was CMO and training some of the younger doctors is you'd walk in and stand in the room and listen, and the guy would walk in and the doctor would walk in and be like, yeah, you have a bunion, and this is a big bunion. It's complicated. And, we could do surgery on it, but I really can't tell you how it's going to turn out. I'm like, what? What do you? And the guy is like, he's trying to be honest to
Yeah.
the fault, right? Of course, you don't know how it's going to
Yep.
turn out, but you've done a
I
thousand
know some
bunions
bunion
and they've all
surgeries.
gone
Yeah.
well, right? So it's like, you have to have that feeling that the person that you're
Yeah.
with is a Porsche.
Yeah.
You're going to get in that car, you're going to sit comfortably, and you can go 200 miles an hour, and you're not going to have a problem,
Yeah.
right? If
I,
the
A
If the
hundred
wheel is going
percent.
ka-tunk, 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 you jump out of the car, right? You don't keep speeding along. But I see that a lot in my practice. So
Yeah.
you were asking me, we kind of went out completely off track, but you're asking me, what do I do?
Mm-hmm.
So my practice is sports medicine, primary surgery, and revision surgery of the foot and ankle. That's
Mm-hmm.
what I do. So it's everything from bunions and hammer toes and neuromas and lumps and bumps and things like that to ankle replacement and revision of failed surgeries and bone grafting and bone transport and all kinds of stuff. There's really nothing foot and ankle that I don't do. I do pretty much everything. And I get referred a lot of cases where nobody wants to do it. And I have the pleasure and blessing of taking care of those people. But a lot of the time when I'm doing those cases, I notice a pattern of the person
Mm-hmm.
having gone to a doctor that is completely incapable of doing it the first time
Yep.
and obviously incapable of doing it the first time. But they were like, well, it's got four wheels and it's got doors. It can go 200 miles an hour. And you're looking at the car and going, how could you not tell this car can't go 200 miles an hour, right?
Yeah.
So I think that the number one thing advice wise is make sure you feel super comfortable. Make sure you feel like the doctor is really really got you. And this stuff that I mean, the first question should be, how comfortable are you doing the surgery? How many of these do you do? Is this part of your specialty? Right? And then the
Mhm.
second question is like, you know, what are the most common problems you've had with surgery? How often do you have these problems? Like you should be asking these kinds of questions to find the right person.
I think often, when people are in this position, they come in and you see it too, I'm sure. And you from what I can understand, you are filling in the gaps of what questions people are not asking, just knowing and seeing how you're answering this today. But I think they're so concerned about the actual thing that they're not focused in on or don't know how to ask the right questions. And so this is such a great value add because, a surgeon to patient, these are the things that you should be asking folks. And these are the things that I cover in my meetings and my
Yeah.
patients. So
I
it's so
think the
neat.
other thing that's really important is um, unfortunately, what's changed in medicine since I started in 1999,
Yep.
um, what's changed is I think that there were more private doctors who were very attentive to a practice, right? So you had an assistant who was available just for you. You had a call center that you managed. You also personally were very much more attentive to who you are because you had one practice with your name on it, right? And
Yep.
I think what's changed is that the younger generation, number one, they don't want that responsibility.
Mm-hmm.
Number two, it's much more difficult to build that practice. So they end up working for an institution. The institution runs everything, sometimes good, sometimes bad, sometimes mediocre, a lot of mediocre.
Yep.
And so patients, again, it's like, well, if there's a large organization that has a large name, like
Mhm.
I'll use UCLA for example.
Sure.
If UCLA is behind this doctor, then this doctor has to be good. And the
Yep.
thing is, UCLA just puts a white coat on somebody. It
Yep.
doesn't mean they're a top-notch doctor. And so you
Yep.
really need to take the time to look around and make sure that who you're seeing is right for you.
Absolutely. And to kind of turn things back to you guys, and I love the analogy that you have provided us about the Porsche. Like I think that is excellent. And so as your foot and ankle practice is, the Porsche out there, what else would you say is different about you all? How do you approach, aside from what you do day in, day out with each patient, but what do you really pride yourself in? What do you think is just so different amongst whether it's, different surgeries that you perform or,
Sure.
modalities that you have in the office? I'd love to hear what really makes you guys unique.
So I had an orthopedic surgeon who was my mentor. and he said something to me that it really stuck with me. So if you think of 100 surgeons,
Hmm.
90 of them will continue to do what they learned in residency 25 years later, right?
Hmm.
The other 10, 9 out of the 10 are going to go to courses and actually sit in the course, not go to
Hmm.
Hawaii and go to the beach while they're at a course. And there'll be one guy who's actually moving the practices along, innovating, producing new surgeries,
Yep.
and also teaching, right? And I've always been that guy. I've written over 300 published articles. I've published 2 books, well, 4 books. I've
Hmm.
published multiple book chapters. And to give you an example, the bunion surgery that I learned 25 plus years ago, I don't do any of that surgery anymore.
Yep.
And it's been a progression, right? First, it was instead of cutting the L, make it a V. Then it was make it a different V. Then it was instead of using metal screws, use fiber screws. I've been involved with a company called Osteofiber. At the beginning, when they were looking to get started, they had a powder. That was it. And I've been involved with them from day one, helping them manufacture the products that are now used across the world for non-metal fixation. Screws, pins, staples, all used to fixate bone instead
Hmm.
of metal. So I've always had this innovative spirit, and I think part of it goes back to the woodworking that I did as a kid. Part of it went back to always trying to be a perfectionist. And I think what's happened over 25 years is I've reached a point where I feel like really, really, really good about what I do. But again, I constantly just evolving and pushing. We do a ton of regenerative treatments in the office. Um, I started doing PRP probably 20 years ago.
Yeah.
Then we still do PRP, but we learned, oh, amniotic injections are good. So we do amniotic injections, which are umbilical cord stem cell injections.
Hmm.
Then we started realizing that there's another portion of the amniotic membrane called exosomes, and we started doing exosomes. And then figuring out where all of these belong for people and how we can avoid them from having surgery by doing these regenerative healing injections. Then recently, in the past year, I've gotten into peptides. And I mean, I'm like a complete believer in peptides now, and we're fixing issues that would need surgery or take a long time to heal by having the body heal itself with regenerative treatments, peptides, shockwave therapy, light therapy. There's a million things, and really, your body's an incredible healer if you make it right. Even when we're doing surgery, a lot of our surgeries, we add regenerative treatments to, we add peptides to, because instead of healing at 6 weeks, if I can get you to heal at 4 weeks or 3 weeks and you heal better, that's the goal. So for me, it's all about innovating and pushing.
I love that. I think it's really interesting. As a surgeon, I think maybe a misconception would be that you're looking to push surgery, but I love that you have these other modalities in the office which allow you to, you know, help someone in a different capacity. It doesn't mean that surgery is going to be the thing that we end up with at the end of the day. You might,
No,
and I think that's another question that people should be asking is that, is there something else I can do before I head down a very invasive route?
I think what I do is I kind of divide into 2 categories. There's surgeries that you can do that are not urgent,
Mhm.
right?
Right.
And there's surgeries that you can do that are urgent, right?
Hmm.
So surgeries that you can do that are urgent, we want to put you in the best position possible. We
Yep.
want to like optimize your healing, which
Hmm.
you can do with stem cells, you can do with amniotic injections, you can do with peptides, but you need to have the surgery. You have a broken ankle, you have a torn Achilles,
Hmm.
you have an arthritic joint that you can't walk on. Those things are not going to get better on their own. But the arthritic joints, you can sometimes manage them, but it's
Hmm.
not going to go away.
Yep.
And then there's things like I have a bunion, but the bunion doesn't hurt me. I mean,
Hmm.
my comment is if it doesn't hurt you and you're able to live with it, you're welcome to live with it. If you want me to fix it, I can. But if it doesn't hurt, you don't have to have surgery. And so we try to mitigate those surgeries
Sure.
and try to offer, sometimes an orthotic will support your foot and the pain goes away in the ball of the foot or under the bunion. So there's a lot of things that you can do. And I think for me, I'm lucky enough where I have surgery coming out of my ears. So it's not about, the next surgery. It never has been. It's about taking good care of patients, and there's plenty of them.
Yep.
Um, and, now I'm in a boutique practice where I'm not seeing 50, 60 people a day. I see, 15, 20 patients a day, and we just offer a very high level of care.
Hmm.
Um, and it works.
I love that. I think it's so important to stress those things. And that while you're a surgeon, I'm not here itching for the next surgery. I want to help you. That I'm itching to help you as a person and to help you grow and feel better. Or whether you're fine just the way you are, you notice that some things are happening, but it doesn't have to mean that we're going to take the most invasive route. And I think that is ultimately comforting to a lot of people. And
Yes.
I think, this kind of brings me to, I'm sure a lot of patients come in and ask a lot of questions. And it's great that people are more invested in their health. I mean, hey, listen, we have maybe WebMD is aging myself, but like, ChatGPT now is the new WebMD and Gemini and Claude. And it's great that people are, searching for things and they're being more investigative about their health, which is terrific. However, not every platform and thing can be trusted, right? Not a doctor. Um, so, what would you say are maybe some misconceptions that you hear, whether it's patients are asking it or you feel that people just have this notion about what you do? And so, would love to hear maybe what some of your most common things that you hear that you would just love to debunk for once and for all.
I think some of them are like foot pain's normal. That's not really the case. You shouldn't be hurting in your feet, right? Or anywhere in your body. If you're hurting, it's your body saying there's something wrong here.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of times foot issues are mechanical. So controlling the mechanics, whether it's with shoes or orthotics or stretching,
Yeah.
controlling the mechanics so that stresses are more normal are going to reduce your symptoms.
Mm.
Um, I think the other one is that surgery has to be painful. Most of our surgeries are little to no pain. And I think it's, again, managing tissue properly, the medications being proper, the injections we use, all helping to heal the body and not cause an inflammatory response. And then, foot surgery being scary is another big one. Like it'll never be the same. I
Mm.
mean, I've probably in my life done over 50,000 surgeries. And um, I would say I'd have you know, I've been in the same geographic area for 25 years.
Yeah.
I'd have a lot of really upset people and a very full waiting room of upset patients if that was the case and surgeries didn't turn out well, but it really isn't.
Mm-hmm.
I think the right surgeon, the right hands, the right treatments, um, and someone who really cares and knows how to handle you properly, you can have phenomenal outcomes.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more. And I love the little tidbit in there about, foot and ankle problems sometimes being mechanical. I think people don't
Yeah,
think about that enough. And I could get on my own soapbox of why I know I look young. I tell everyone about proper footwear. Like that is the one thing, the hill I am going to die on. And it's so true though. There's so many things that I've helped others out with in the very small capacity of which of this I contribute. But it's very true. And so I appreciate you bringing up that point.
yep,
People are stuck in their ways. They're stuck in the
yes.
the terrible shoes, things that are not right for them, and they're killing themselves. You only have these 2 feet to walk on your entire life, and they have to last you. So
That's exactly right. Better take good care of them.
you gotta take good care of them. I
And
couldn't,
I'll tell you a follow-up to that is,
yeah.
I'm 55, turning 55 in a week. Um, and I still play a lot of tennis. I still work out almost every day. I take really good care of myself. But about a year ago, I started noticing my knee hurt, my elbow hurt, my shoulder hurt, my back hurt.
Mhm.
Even though I was stretching and exercising, then I started noticing that I just didn't feel as much energy, felt like I was like, I would say the best term is getting old.
Yeah.
And I started on some peptides
Yeah.
and I feel 30 again.
That's
So
amazing.
your body has the capability, it just sometimes doesn't have the trigger. And
Yep.
that can also be true with orthopedic conditions like arthritis. Sometimes you can calm down the inflammation and the arthritis isn't as bad. And sometimes it's crazy because we'll see a patient who has a horrendously arthritic ankle but zero pain. And then we see another patient, they have a very minor arthritic ankle and excruciating pain. That's the inflammatory process of the body. And if you can calm that, a lot of times you can get rid of a lot of the symptoms. And that takes the person from a physician standpoint who's willing to try to find that next avenue of
Yes.
opportunity to help a patient. Because the easy thing is you go in and the doctor says you have an arthritic ankle and you need surgery. We need to put an ankle replacement in or fuse your ankle.
Hmm.
But sometimes you can, treat it with a peptide or with an injection and buy time or reduce the symptoms significantly enough where the person doesn't need it. It's all about finding a guy who's willing to be passionate and go after learning because it's a
Find the
constant
guy.
learning process.
Absolutely. Find the guy. I'm with you there.
Find
To
a Porsche dealership.
find the Porsche dealership in your life, you guys, on all things. Porsche, everything, man.
That's funny.
Porsche, I gotta tag Porsche in this. They're gonna love this, Dr. Bob. But to round things out for today, no, keep going.
Well, here's the other thing. We've been talking about Porsche, but the truth of it is it doesn't look, you don't have to have a Porsche.
Yeah.
For one guy, a Lexus is a great car. For another
Yep.
one, oh, Mercedes is a great car.
Mm-hmm.
But if the problem is that sometimes you go in and you're looking at the car and the door doesn't close and the wheel looks crooked, or the paint is chipping, or the leather on the inside looks like it's completely faded and it doesn't match the mileage. You're leery and you're like, I don't think this is the right car for me. But
Yeah.
when you're leery of the physician, you're like, well, he's got a white coat on. Maybe take a step back and, you know, go look at another car before you make your decision.
Sound the alarm. No, I mean,
I see a lot of it. I really do, unfortunately.
yeah, I can only imagine. And I think this will be great from both the perspective of the patient side, but then also of, other folks that are maybe sitting where you are. Maybe they've been had their practice for a long time or just starting out. But I think there's some Dr. Bob pro tips in their future. And so I'd love to get a couple of ideas from you in terms of you've given a lot on the patient side, and certainly what folks can do more and be open to in your field, but maybe there's something that can improve their health and move their trajectory of their success forward and upwards. And then maybe for also the private practices that are out there, you've had such a wonderful background, had such a great experience, and maybe you can share a little golden nugget with those folks. And I think no one's ever too old or had their practice too long to learn something new. As you have so kindly pointed out that you're always evolving, and I think that's really important. As things are, nothing is the same since 20 years
Yeah,
ago, and I think we can all agree on that. So why should
yeah,
surgery and medicine stay back there as well? So I'll
right.
give you the floor. I'd love to hear your thoughts.
So for patients, I think number one is that the person taking care of you, you should feel very comfortable with.
Hmm.
That's not meaning that they're good at what they do, but you feel like this person is going to take conscious care of you, be conscientious of what they're doing. That you feel comfortable with them from a spirit standpoint, right? Because you're going to have to deal with them for a while. And you want them to, if you have questions, they're answering it. They shouldn't be just brushing you off. They shouldn't be like belittling your questions. That's important.
Sure.
I think the other one again is that you should feel a very strong confidence that this person feels very secure about what they're offering you. And
Mhm.
that can be anything as simple as an injection to something as complicated as surgery, right? You should feel like they have a sense of confidence about what they're offering you and what they're doing. Um, and then I think, in general, you should be getting similar opinions when you get two opinions. So if
Mhm.
one doctor says A and a doctor says B, what I recommend is always go back to Dr. A again and
Yeah.
say, I went and saw Dr. B. This is what he said, and
Yeah.
see what they react like.
Mm-hmm.
Sometimes Dr. B wasn't very smart. And so Dr. A will say, well, because of this, and this, I don't agree with Dr. B, and you feel better. And
Mm-hmm.
you've given Dr. A a chance.
Yeah,
Sometimes you go back to Dr. A and he says, well, yeah, Dr. B's point is good, but we can also do it this way. And then you kind of get some two different options.
sure.
And sometimes you go in and the Dr. A says, you know what, I don't understand. And that's a clear red flag not to maybe see Dr. A, and maybe Dr. B is a better option. But you really kind of need to do a little bit of homework. And most importantly, I think that good doctors have a sense of aura and confidence about them. Because when things aren't going right, you tend to kind of go into a hole. And when things are going right, you kind of try to, you're like this. So I think that that sense of aura is important. Um, I think as far as a doctor is concerned in private practice, um, if you are not evolving and if you are not at the forefront of medicine, you're dead.
Yep.
Close your office, go fishing. You're you're dying every day without realizing it.
Yeah.
And the main reason is that care is being kind of transferred to large medical groups, large hospital systems. They have more buying power, more advertising power, more negotiating power. And also, they're just pulling from a bigger market, right?
Mm-hmm.
So if a doctor works at UCLA, they're referring to doctors at UCLA, unless you are doing something where either the doctor says this is better,
Mm-hmm.
or unless patients are looking for you. And the only way they're going to look for you is you won't believe how savvy patients are these days. Like I have patients who come in and say, I have a plantar plate tear. It's been going on for 4 years. I went and saw Dr. A and Dr. B. I read your article about the plantar plate repair using the Scorpion system, and that's why I'm here. I'm
That's
like,
awesome.
right? So like, they've read four different articles to learn what a plantar plate tear is. They've read about my system of doing it. Then they've researched the thing that I use to do my system with, and they come in and say, this is what I want. So they're savvy, but you have to be at the forefront of medicine before they
Yeah.
look for you,
Yeah,
you know?
absolutely.
That's really, really key.
Yeah, I love everything that you've had to say, Dr. Bob. This has been so amazing. I appreciate your pro tips, and I think the folks that
My
are here
pleasure.
listening, from the patient side, from the provider side, equally as important. I think everyone can learn from you, and what you've been able to say today. So thank you for your time. And
Thank you.
before we leave off, I'd love to give you a chance to share where folks can find you, get some good resources, reach out if they have any questions or to book an appointment.
Sure. Thank you. My practice is Docs Foot and Ankle. Our
Mhm.
website is docs, DOCS, footankle.com. No and, just docs, footankle.com. You can read about what we do. You can find our phone number, and we're more than happy to take care of you.
Wonderful. Well, thank you so much, Dr. Bob. We appreciate all of your time here, and we hope to have you on again very soon.
Anytime. Happy to come on.
Thank you.